In February 2017, Microsoft's business phone system goes live. And then May of 2017, Xerillion migrates to the Microsoft phone system. And over those 2 years, we've migrated 600 plus users and 31 companies into the Microsoft phone system. And that's what this webinar is about, the Microsoft phone system updated for 2019 and after 2 years of heavy internal use of Xerillion and 31 client migrations. And here's the things I'm going to be going over. Number one, how has the Microsoft business phone system performed over the past 2 years? How about outages and reliability? What is the monthly cost of the Microsoft phone system? Microsoft Teams versus traditional desk phones, which do you go with? Number 5, what is the cutover process to the Microsoft phone system? Number 6, can I DIY a Microsoft phone system setup and migration in my company? And number 7, working with Xerillion. So the Microsoft phone system. First up, how has the Microsoft phone system performed for Xerillion in the past 2 years? It's been amazing. This is the 5th phone system that we've had at Xerillion since we started as a company in 2002. So we started with a box on the wall phone system with traditional phone lines, like 6 phone lines going into the phone system. And then we migrated to several different other systems until we got to the Microsoft phone system. The sound quality is excellent over not great internet connections even. And it's a very robust system. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. But the point is, it works well over higher latency internet, like cellular internet connection on your smartphone, a DSL, and not even a fiber over DSL, fiber over copper internet connection, DSL connection, just a regular old-fashioned DSL connection, or even cable internet. And I'm going to talk about how I used to be so much more concerned about the hardware on the local area network, the firewall, the type, having a fiber internet connection. The phone system, as it goes through Microsoft Teams and the Microsoft phone system, it can handle all of that really well. And we have it set up in so many different ways at so many different places. And it's affordable and cost efficient. So by affordable, depending on what Microsoft subscription you have, it can be anywhere from a $12 a month to $20 a month per user. And cost efficient in that we only have to give the users that need phone service access in their subscription. We don't have to be tied into a phone circuit contract, like a PRI phone circuit. Those are usually like 3 years long, or tied into with our internet circuit and a phone circuit, all that sort of stuff that we used to do 5, 10, 15 on years ago. So we can just give the users access to the phone service they need. And I'm going to talk about other ways that make it even more cost effective. So Microsoft, by moving the email, files, phone system, security management into the Microsoft 365 platform, they're driving down the cost of having these services implemented and managed. As a matter of fact, our managed services on a Microsoft phone system and a Microsoft system in general, a cloud system, are lower than we had to do with on-premise equipment or traditional phone systems. It's easy to add on phone service to employees around the United States or people that are working internationally. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as well. And the call trees, your call queues, your call groups work the same no matter if someone is logging in from the office, their home office, a client site, a hotel, or a smartphone app. No matter how they're logging in, the Microsoft phone system protocols are very robust, even over not great internet connections. And when you do have everybody with really good, solid internet connections, no matter where they're logging in, if 5 people are in a call group and they all get rang at the same time, or you have, sales getting rang or service getting rang, they're in different groups. No matter where they're logging in from, even on their smartphone, the call flows are still going to work the same. It's really amazing. So I want to show you 2 slides here. It's Xerillion by our teams, and then a Xerillion geographically. Now, there used to be a time when, even up to like 5 years ago, where everybody at Xerillion, we started out of Chicago. We started out of Chicago in 2002, and everybody was in Chicago. If you worked at Xerillion, you're in the Chicago metro area. And that's changed as we've moved to a Microsoft Cloud Service company where we sell, implement, and support Microsoft Cloud systems most of the people that we get as clients these days are outside of the Chicago area. Some are still in Chicago, but most are outside of Chicago. So we don't actually have to be on site. We can go ahead and implement these things no matter where the client is inside the United States. And so that also opens us up to say, well, we can take the best people wherever we can find them as well. And because the phone system is so important to proper servicing, well, the fact that we can give anybody, no matter where they are in the world, a local, we're 847 area code, that's where we're at. I can give everybody a local 847 direct dial number, no matter where they're at. And let me show you. So there's 3 main teams at Xerillion of our team of 15 people. We have the client service administrative team, and you can see right here, 3 of the people are in Chicago, and then we got 1 person in Nicaragua, 1 person in Macedonia. The sales and marketing team, there's me, I'm in Chicago, and there's Will, he's in Seattle. And then our technical team, most of the people are in Chicago, but we have 1 person in India, 1 person in North Carolina. And so right now, this gives us a lot of flexibility, a lot of scalability to find the best people to support our clients no matter where we can find them. And so, with our help desk, our technical team, when customers call in with help desk issues, they call in, and wherever those people are at taking those calls at Xerillion, it just doesn't matter, because as they log into the system with the Microsoft Teams app and get into the phone system, if somebody in Chicago needs to forward the call over, or multiple people get rang on the help desk at the same time, it just doesn't matter physically where they're at anymore. That's super helpful. Now, this is Xerillion by Teams, but again, now let's look at geography. So here's all the people in the Chicago area at Xerillion, and here's then the people outside of the Chicago area: Seattle, North Carolina, India, Macedonia, Nicaragua. So you can imagine this gives you a lot of flexibility in your own business if you do this as well. These days, when we go to client sites, especially we have field people or we have executives that are traveling around a lot. I mean, the idea that they have a desk phone at their desk at an office that they are frequently not at, I'm not sure really what the point of that is, as people become more and more mobile, as more companies hire people outside of the geographic area or the metro area where that business was originally established. Even some of our clients that have been with us the longest and have the oldest businesses, even them, the people they hire are expanding far outside of the geographic area where that company was founded. And that trend is just simply going to continue. So the Microsoft phone system, because it's an easy add-on, it works well over all kinds of internet connections. It's very robust, and the quality is very sound, and the sound is high quality. And the fact that it's an easy add-on, and you can give people phone numbers wherever they're at, local phone numbers, it becomes very flexible to be able to scale your business. So how about outages and reliability? Let's talk about that for a second, because no phone system is perfect, right? Well, outages today with the Microsoft phone system. With Microsoft services, cloud services, they are far more highly available than anything that I've ever seen on premise. And Microsoft can do a better job than anybody can do. So, that anybody can do with an on-premise system. So, I've never seen an outright outage. I've seen degradations. I've seen degradations on cloud services for email, for SharePoint, for Teams, Skype for Business, whatever. And I've seen those degradations on prior phone systems that we have. I have far fewer problems on the Microsoft phone system than the previous systems that we worked with. And the Microsoft phone system is less expensive than the previous systems we worked with, and it gives our company more scalability and flexibility. So I would call it degradation. And by degradation, I'm roughly talking about, maybe it wasn't a complete outage, but we couldn't receive calls for like 15 minutes, but we could still make calls out, or we couldn't make calls out, but we could receive calls, or there was just some goofiness with a few users or something like that. But it's a degradation. There was never just a complete outage. And the beauty of that is that as opposed to having a piece of equipment in our office, when there's an outage, Microsoft's very aware of it, and they are working on it, and they get it resolved. They get things resolved so quickly. Now, I understand sometimes from a client's perspective, they may be looking at the situation and go, oh, it was an outage or something like that. We couldn't do anything. But when we dig into it, we've never had a client where they could do anything. and they're very rare. They really are. And here at Xerillion, we are on it all the time. So there's 31 customers that we have in there. There's 600 plus users, and we are in there as well. And we are heavy Microsoft phone system users. We run a help desk. People call in. We call out. I'm on conference calls all the time. So, I know when there's blips, and I would know if there's a complete outage in the system, but we just haven't had that happen. And we're just talking about cloud services, Microsoft Cloud Services outages. Well, I'm going to talk about in a minute about internet outages when your phone system goes through the internet. So let's talk about internet outages. So it's an amazing thing with, let's talk about the old systems. So I remember, a typical thing at clients is there would be an outage with their phone circuit, and then the phone provider would have to route all the calls to somebody's cell phone or something like that. Or if you've had an internet outage and you're thinking, well, all my calls go in and out of that internet connection, what are we going to do? Well, when I'm working in my home office, I've had the internet go out. The internet these days is really reliable. In the Chicago metro area, we were dealing with Comcast, and it's so different than Comcast of 10, 15 years ago. So it really doesn't go out that much to begin with. But even when it has, it's been amazing, because what I can just simply do is, here it is. What I can simply do is, and we've done this as a company, if we lose an internet connection at the office, you just pull up the Teams app on your phone and you're good to go. You just use the cellular internet connection from your phone, your smartphone, pull up the Teams app, and then of course there's a speaker here and a microphone here that comes with your phone, and you're good to go. I've used that as my backup internet connection multiple times. And even when I'm at my home office and if the internet goes out, I'm literally in a basement of my house with not great great access to a cell phone tower, like 2 bars. And it still works really well. So the internet goes out, I just go ahead and reconnect in with the Teams smartphone app, and I'm good to go. And so that's what other people have done in our company too. And that can also be your backup, and it is completely effective. So internet goes out or the power goes out in your office or something like that, it's no problem. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody would have the Teams app installed on their phone, and they could just pull it up and then they can receive calls that way. It works beautifully. And with Microsoft, all their cloud services have a 99.9% uptime SLA. What that boils down to in terms of numbers is they provide a 10% refund of anything beyond 44 minutes a month, roughly 44 minutes a month of total outage. Okay. So let's talk about what the Microsoft phone system really costs. So the Microsoft phone system cost equals the phone service. So the phone service meaning call trees, call queues, auto attendance, things like that, but everything except getting onto the public telephone network. So your call flows inside your company. Then you add a calling plan, which the calling plan gets you onto the public telephone network. So the Microsoft phone system can then actually dial a public telephone number and receive calls from a public telephone number. And then you add on a conferencing plan for whoever needs that. So let's first go into the phone service. So again, we're talking about how call flows work once you receive the call in the company. Your auto attendant, call queues, call groups, call trees. This does not include access to the public telephone network, and it is included with Microsoft 365 E5 and Office 365 E5. So they include the phone system. Again, not the calling plan, but the phone system. And Microsoft 365 E5, that's what we use at Xerillion. That is what I prefer to set up for clients that want the best service, the best security, the most features inside the Microsoft 365 system. But for clients that have Microsoft 365 E3 or Office 365 E3 or E1, you can add on to those you can add on the Microsoft phone system for $8 per user per month. Okay, it doesn't work in the lower tier plans like Business Essentials, Business Premium, Microsoft 365 Business. You have to have an E3, E1, or Microsoft E3, E5 subscription. So then the calling plans. A calling plan is what you add on to get you to the public telephone network. So we have 2 options, the flat rate plan, and then we have the per minute plan. The flat rate plan is $12 per user per month, and that includes the United States, all states, Puerto Rico, and Canada is included in that. And it has an abuse cap. So it's a flat rate plan, but it's an abuse cap of 3,000 outbound minutes per user per month pooled together. So easy numbers, if your company has 10 users, then you have an abuse cap of 10 times 3,000 or 30,000 minutes. We use the system heavily at Xerillion, and neither us nor any of our clients have ever gone on beyond the abuse cap. If you go beyond the abuse cap for some reason, then you'd have to be able to pay for your additional minutes. And the interesting thing is taxes are included. So traditional phone circuits, what they do is they charge you per minute, and then you're going to pay another 25 to 30% in taxes on top of that. So with Microsoft's flat rate plan, they include the taxes inside of that flat rate. And there's a place, they have a web page that shows how they pay the taxes state by state, but it's included in the plan to make it very, very simple. This is what everybody chooses. This is what we have at Xerillion ourselves. They do have an international plan that's $24 per user per month, but people don't get that. They would actually use their international calling with a per minute plan. So a per minute plan, only outbound minutes are charged, just like a regular phone system. Inbound calls are, they're not charged. And normally people use the per minute plan for those people that need to make occasional international calls. So, what we would do is we would add, let's say there's 5 users in the company that occasionally need to make outbound international calls. Then we would put like $100 on their calling plan, and then the phone system would just work off those minutes for whatever the rate is. And I'll show you a few rates below. On a per minute plan, taxes are not included, and it is charged direct to Microsoft on a company credit card. So when we're selling, servicing, supporting Microsoft Cloud subscriptions, we invoice the client for all of that stuff, we resell it. But when it comes to a per minute plan, we have to have a company credit card that we will use, and that will be charged direct to Microsoft. But to give you some ideas on rates, US, Canada, toll-free, they're 1.3 cents per minute. And by toll-free, I mean you have a toll-free number and you're paying for those minutes that are coming inbound to that toll-free call. Again, those are 1.3 cents a minute. Calling to Mexico, 1.1 cents a minute. The UK, 1.2 cents. And China, 4 cents a minute. The one thing I'll say also on the per minute plan, I do think this is just a lot simpler. And again, this is what people go with. But roughly doing the math, if you could look up and you had a good feel what your minutes are every single month with your current phone system, your current phone circuit, whatever that is, you take the total minutes usage, the average, and then you divide it by the number of people in the company. If that number comes less than 400 to 500 minutes per user per month, you might be able to save some money by going with the per minute plan. If that number is over that or close, then I would probably just keep it a flat rate plan. But again, everybody just does this. So now let's talk about conference calling. With conference calling, it is included with Microsoft 365 E5 and Office 365 E5. And it is an add-on for Microsoft 365 E3, and you can add it on to Microsoft 365 Business or Office 365 E1, E3, and you can also add it on to Office 365 Business Premium. You cannot add on a calling plan or the phone system to Microsoft 365 Business or Office 365 Business Premium, but you can add on conference calling to those lower tier plans. And the flat rate plan is $4 per user per month. The one thing to note, and the taxes are included, but the one thing to note, if you have the ability with the conference calling to be able to dial out to somebody's public telephone number to bring them into your conference call. If you're dialing out to bring somebody in, you get up to 100 minutes per month. That's the only caveat. Beyond that, you would have to be able to pay for your additional minutes. But that's actually a pretty rare thing. Sometimes we do that as Xerillion, but it's pretty rare. Or you can pay with a per minute plan. And the way that works is simply that if you initiate the conference call and you don't have a flat rate $4 per user per month plan, then if you have 3 people dialing into that call and they're in the United States, for example, it's going to be 3 times 1.3 cents per minute to be able to have that meeting. And again, taxes are not included. So now let's talk about the next question. Do we use Microsoft Teams or do we use traditional desk phones? Okay. So I prefer to use Microsoft Teams. And the way I like to set it up is something like this. So let's take my laptop here, okay? So here's my laptop, and here's the Teams app running inside of it. And I'll show a bigger picture of this later, but when I go into Teams a little bit more. But here's the dial pad, and basically this is the phone system, which will be weird because most people are used to having a handset. But I use this, and then I have a headset connected to it. I have a wired headset, and I also have a wireless headset, and I'll show those later as well. It is amazing to have my entire email, files, voice, IT infrastructure inside my laptop. Wherever I go, I have one device that has everything on it, and I can work so efficiently that way. And if I'm the IT manager for your company, if you were hiring me full time, what would I do? What kind of vision would I paint for you? I would get everybody on laptops, and if you got laptops versus desktops, you might be talking about a one-time cost of an additional $200 per user, let's say. But now I have everything on this one device. My disaster recovery is completely handled. In other words, even though my back-end infrastructure is up in the cloud, if you have a bunch of desktops at your office and your office is no longer available to you, that's not great. Then you're going to be kind of scrambling to get things figured out outside of the office because you have all these desktop computers. But if everybody's on laptops, all the laptops that didn't get burnt or in a flood or something like that, which is probably most of them, people just take these home and connect in with their internet connection, and everything is still exactly the same. And then you just connect in with a headset. But I'm going to show you alternatives to that as well. If you don't like headsets, then you can get a headset in a handset form, let's call it, because you can look at this right here. We basically, when we're connecting into using Microsoft Teams app, we need a speaker and we need a microphone. Okay, so here's on the headset, here's the microphone, here's the speakers. On a desk phone, here's the speaker, here's the microphone. It just looks like a desk phone. And we just plug it in with the USB connection, and then it just works here. So this is absolutely the way you can go, and it's a much simpler system to work with. And here I'm just showing a desktop computer with the Teams app running on as well. So, but all you need to connect into the Microsoft Teams app with the phone system is you need a speaker and a microphone on your computer. So it can be a Jabra headset, a generic headset if you want to use that. You got something to use your smartphone with, a USB handset like you have over here, or a laptop mic and speakers. I mean, we certainly have people that'll just take a laptop into a conference room, fire up Teams, get on a video meeting with us, and they're just using the microphone and speakers on their laptop. Incoming calls, just ring your computer speakers, and you can dial calls by copying and pasting phone numbers right in there. And I'll show you a bigger version of the Teams app shortly, or clicking your mouse, and I'll show you that as well. You can always also use your smartphone, and this was something that was brought up months ago by a prospect we were talking to, and it was an interesting question they had, and I thought about it. I'm like, wow, that is such a cool idea. So first, let's talk about iOS and Android smartphones and the Teams mobile app. In a traditional setup, you've got a computer. That's either a laptop or desktop running Windows OS or Mac OS. Then you have a desk phone, literally just to work on the public telephone network, even though you really don't need it. But you have the separate device, a desk phone sitting right next to your computer. And then you have a third device, which is your smartphone. Well, you could get rid of that desk phone on your desk. And if you don't want to use the Teams app on your laptop or desktop, you could just use the hardware that's already in your smartphone and just use the Teams app here. And that's what this is right here. Here's the Teams app. And I'm going to show this a little bit more in depth later, but here I fire up the Teams app, goes right into my call history. I can hit this little button here, and here's the dial pad for it. Here's the voicemail. But the point is, there was no hardware needed. So, if you're a company with, let's say, 40, 50 users, you want to roll out the phone system right away, and you can get buy-in from your team, which they probably will because it's really nice. Say, look, you don't have to give out your personal cell phone number to business contacts anymore. You just keep that for friends and family. You just give them your Microsoft phone system direct number, and you'll still be tied into the company phone system with our main phone number. But you just download the Teams app, and then connect into the company Wi-Fi, and boom, we're done. You have a phone, and a phone that works really well. And the phone through here, as I've said before, Microsoft Teams phone app on my smartphone, completely separate from my personal my cell number on here, works really, really well. And then no hardware is needed. So you just use the mic and speaker on your smartphone. You connect into the Wi-Fi or use the cellular network. And depending what plan you have, maybe the company works out some sort of deal to pay for business use of your personal cell phone. But when you're in the office, you just turn on the Teams mobile app. And when you're out of the office, you just turn off the Teams mobile app on your phone. So incoming calls ring the mobile app. They don't ring your phone. So it's not like where their older phone systems can forward an incoming call over to your cell phone. This rings the app on your phone. And you would just dial calls by the mobile app touchscreen, just right here, and does not drain your battery at all. The Skype for Business mobile app was a little tougher on smartphone batteries. The Teams mobile app is very light on smartphone batteries. And then again, instant company phone, and it's one phone to carry. At Xerillion, we have a lot of people that are in the field, and we used to provide a company cell phone, and then we always have two phones to carry around. And what a hassle that was. When we moved to the Microsoft phone system, we said, look, just give out your company phone number. Don't have to give out your personal cell phone number anymore. And now you're just carrying around one phone. And also for cost efficiency too. Not only is there no hardware to purchase in that scenario, and it works really well, and the call flows still work the same, but if an employee leaves the company, then you just simply turn off the subscription, and the employee, they just remove the app off their phone. But the company has no access to the employee's personal device. The employee downloaded the company app, and the company, while that employee was there, had a subscription giving them access to the phone service. So I think it's a very cost-effective way, especially if your company is younger, more mobile, and by younger I mean the actual age of the company. So younger companies tend to have people that are more mobile, not spend a lot of time in the office. So having a desk phone there, and they would probably appreciate not having to give out their personal cell phone number. So just give them their phone service through the company, through the Teams mobile app. Works really well. So what is it like using Microsoft Teams as your company phone? Well, so let's go into Teams here. Okay, so this is Microsoft Teams. And right here, and again, I'm doing a slideshow. I know it's a lot better to actually do live video, which I could do. I could bring the Teams app and then show you on the app live. But the thing is, I've got to protect confidentiality of employees and stuff like that. So anyway, but bear with me on this. Here's the Teams app. So if I click in calls right here, the little phone icon, boom, here we go. Right away, I've got something that's super helpful that you probably don't have on your phone system right now, which is presence information or status information. So if I look here, this person's available, this person's busy, this person's in a meeting, this person's in a call, this person's away. Right away, just knowing if they're in a call, not in a call, away, available is so helpful for getting business and work done. It reduces wasted cycles, sending emails to somebody who's not even in the office, or if you see somebody is in a call, well, maybe you don't waste time calling them, but you can go and set up a chat session with them, and maybe they can, get back to you really quick. Super helpful right out of the gate. Okay, but with the phone system tie-in, you can actually see if somebody is in a call. And here you can see, here's the dial pad, and it puts your phone number, your direct dial number right up there, which is really helpful, especially in the beginning when you don't remember what your direct dial number is necessarily. And also, it's worth knowing you can pick up parked calls. So, if you have something where somebody says, look, you can pick up on 101 or something like that, you can do the same thing with Microsoft Teams. You couldn't do that on the Skype for Business phone service, but you can do that in Teams. You can park calls and pick them up. And still in the phone system, if I go down to contacts, there's my contacts, the same ones that are in Outlook. I can just search or scroll down to one. I can click right here and I can call them with a click, which is super helpful. And here's the call history right there. And then voicemail. which you would expect to see these features inside of a phone system, but this is how you engage with it. And again, you either have a headset or you have a desk phone or a handset if the app is running on your computer. And then when it comes to conferencing, what I'm showing you right here are 2 screen clips. So to set up conference calls, I'm in Outlook right here, and I'm in the calendar portion of Outlook. And right here, I would just click New Teams Meeting. I click that, and this pops up, and it fills in everything for me. So right here, join Microsoft Teams meeting. If somebody clicked on that, they could join with their desktop or laptop computer, and then they could use the speakers and microphone on the computer. And then here's a dial-in number, and then the conference code. It's interesting to note too, here's local numbers. So if this is not a local number for somebody, or it's a toll number, or somebody that's international, they can click on this little local number thing and find a number that doesn't cost them money. And then this is my phone. I took screen clips right from here, but I want to show you, how I use the Teams app and what it looks like. Here on I'm an Android smartphone, Samsung Galaxy Note guy. But right here, Outlook doesn't even get on my first page, the Outlook mobile app, because Outlook for me is just for people that I'm working with outside of Xerillion. So I certainly do correspond with people outside of the company, but when I'm on my phone, it's far less than the correspondence that I do with people inside the company and collaborating with them, which I do that for Teams. So that has the hottest spot on my phone, the main spot. So click on it there, and this will take me right into the Teams app. And here I can see, again, call history. I can see voicemail, and if I click on this right here, I get the dial pad. And of course, if somebody just calls me and the Teams app is up, I'm just going to receive the call, and I can take it right there, completely separate from my phone. And so it's like having 2 phones in one device, which is really like it is. And over here, this is where I can pick up parked calls. Now let's talk about hardware decisions. So if you want a traditional phone setup, what we use YeaLink. It is certified for Microsoft Teams. All right, so we have the standard phone, the executive, fancier looking phone, and then we have the big conference room phone. Okay, so with YeaLink, they are way ahead of the game with the Microsoft phone system. We put in Polycom phones when it was the Skype for Business phone system. With YeaLink, they got right on getting phones that are certified for the Microsoft phone system with Teams. And besides the app looking really nice and working well, YeaLink, the phones reduce the integration cost significantly. So what we used to have to do with Polycom phones when the phone system worked with Skype for Business is that we would have to receive the phones at our office, unbox them physically, and then we would configure them, physically put them back in the box, and then ship them over to the client. And that added costs to the implementation. With YeaLink phones and Teams with the Microsoft phone system, what we can do is the customer orders the phones from us, and then we can have them sent directly to the customer. And then from there, all they have to do is they physically have to unbox them, plug them in, get them on the network, and then log in to do a test call. And they can make outbound calls and then receive the call. And then what we can do is push out the configuration to that phone, push out the updates to that phone, all done remotely. Works so nicely. And because of that, it reduces the cost of the implementation. So to give you some ideas, I mean, none of them are expensive. The standard phone, which is $170, the fancier version of the phone is $265, and the tripod conference phone is $552. And I'll say something like, again, on the standard phone, which is about $170. The thing with the devices is this right here, really at the end of the day, it's just a low-level computer basically running the Teams app is really what it does. But it looks like a familiar, comfortable, traditional desk phone for the users. And so basically they've got a device that has a speaker here and a microphone here, and they've got a little touchpad, and they got a place to hit the speakerphone button. They're probably not going to be spending a ton of time messing around with the app. They're not going to be checking their calendar and meetings and stuff like that. And so really at the end of the day, this is probably what most people, if they don't want to use a headset, they don't want to use the app on their phone, or we'll talk to some owners and they're like, well, Teams and the app, that's really cool, but our users really are used to desk phones and that's just what they want. Great. I would just do this. And this is going to give them a form factor that's very simple, easy to work with, very similar to what they have now. Because again, my experience is most people don't really use any of the features besides have a device with a speaker and a microphone, a keypad, and a place to hit the speakerphone. And it's important to note that we do not install phones we don't sell. There's way too many problems with this. We install computers we don't sell, but not phones. So most customers, they just want us to handle things and they want a solution. They want to pay fair money for the stuff that we're selling them, and we take a lot of pride and care in that trust they have with us. But every once in a while we'll have somebody say, well, I can go on Amazon, I can go look up and get this YeaLink phone or this Polycom phone, whatever. Theoretically you could. And it's funny because the phones themselves, they're less complicated than desktop or laptop computers or servers or anything else the typical IT person works with, or the CFO in the company might be procuring for the company. But the problem is the problem are these things. There's a gray market for phones. Used phones or phones that come with outdated firmware. You can get the right model but the wrong SKU. We don't make our business selling phones. Okay, so if I had confidence that we wouldn't have a bunch of problems, as we've had many times in the past with a customer buying their own phones, no problem. Just go ahead and do it. If you want to get it bid out 10 different ways, that's fine. But we do. Every single time we have so many problems. And there's so many, I don't even, the vendor we buy the phones from, I know it, I trust it, we don't have problems. And where else you find it for $10, $15 less, who knows? And we just have phones that come to us and we'll find out that, for example, you can get a phone that has the right model number, but the manufacturer might have 4 different SKUs for that particular model. Well, which one did you get? I don't know. Or you got the phone, but then it didn't come with the Teams software on it. It came with just plain generic Android software on it. Well, now what we got to do? Now we got a problem on our hands. So we got to talk to you. We got to increase the time, the cost of the project, which isn't going to be a fun conversation. It's going to delay everything. What I want to do is I want to save you from yourself. It's not worth the stress of trying to save a few bucks to get a phone that's really just a low-level device sitting on the desk. It's not worth the hassle. And so we just don't do it anymore. Okay, so we'll charge you a fair price for the phone, but we know we can execute this project successfully and move on. We just have had too many problems with somebody trying to source it from other places. So let's talk headsets. So if you like the Freedom headsets like me, and I love them, I use them all the time. My entire professional career, my first job, my boss had a headset, and I thought, wow, that's great. I'm gonna do that, and I've never changed. So let's talk about them. We use Jabra, and Jabra makes a really high quality, good sounding, good microphones on their headsets. And so this is what we set clients up with. Here's the Jabra Evolve 40, and here's the wired headset. It plugs in with USB, but also has this headphone jack right here. So you can actually detach this and plug this into your smartphone, again, as a backup. So I've actually absolutely done that before, where I disconnect this from my computer, plug it into my smartphone because my internet went out, and then I'm back in business with my cellular internet connection. And for the longest time, I used this. I would take this to, this would be my headset. I would have a dual ear version of this. And, oh, here it is actually. So I can get this here. So here, I've used this so much. So I have the dual ear version of this. And, I use this when I'm on plane trips and stuff like that. Just plugging this into my smartphone, listening to Spotify, but also if I'm at conferences or something like that, then I'm at the Teams app. I'm joining conference calls, dialing out, making calls on this sort of thing. With this headset, works just beautifully, and of course it's reliable because it's wired, so there's no batteries to worry about or that they've run out or something like that. And if you can use a USB connection as opposed to a headphone jack connection like I have here, that's going to be your best quality connection when you're going to use a wired system. And again, they come with single ear, dual ear, and then from there you move up to the Jabra Evolve 65. It's got a little better microphone on it, and then it's wireless, and it uses a proprietary wireless dongle, which actually it works better and has more range than a Bluetooth connection. So again, you have a single ear or dual ear version of this. And then from there, you get into the Jabra Evolve 75s. And this is the one I use when I go and I'm taking a plane trip or I'm going to conferences or something like that now. I use this all the time. I even do this when I'm walking in the evening when I'm getting my exercise, because the sound in here is outstanding. And it has noise canceling. It has a very high-end microphone on it. And a couple things to note, whether you go wired or wireless, you make that decision based on, the needs of your company or the cost. But also whether you go single ear or dual ear has to do with how noisy your office environment is. So if it's a quieter open office environment, or it's a quieter environment where you're at a desk or something like that, you can get away with a single ear, no problem. But if it's a noisier open office environment where you just want to be able to just be in your own little world with your headset, this thing is amazing. So it's definitely a little puffier on the ears, but it's a very high quality, really good sounding headset. And the battery on this, when it's fully charged, lasts 14 hours. And lastly, if you took this and you made it a slimmer format and got rid of this headband over here, you'd have the Jabra Evolve 75E. So this is right here is for somebody that wants noise canceling, wants the high-end microphone and speakers, but doesn't want the headband going over their head, and that's what this one is for too. And it has a cool feature that once if you end your call and you just put it in front of you, it just snaps like a necklace in front of you, and then it just turns off the phone, which is neat. So let's talk about how we set up the Microsoft phone system, how we migrate clients into it. So we use the Microsoft phone system transformer. That is our proprietary process over several years of putting these systems in, learning what works, what doesn't, and going through the battles and all this sort of stuff. We have a process in our project management system to get everything set up properly. And again, that's called our Microsoft phone system transformer. So I'm going to take you through the setup, I'm going to take you through the prep, and I'm going to take you through the cutover. This will give you a high-level idea. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to confirm that you have good speed to the Microsoft data center through the internet, i.e. low latency. We're going to determine which Microsoft 365 subscriptions you need, because usually the ones you have are not going to get it done, and we have to change those. We have to determine which calling and conferencing plans you need. We have to determine, are you going to use the Teams desktop app or the YeaLink desk phones? Are you going to be using the Teams mobile app as your backup, or are you going to have a backup internet connection? So remember when I was talking earlier, internet goes out, you just use your cellular internet connection with the Teams app on your phone, and maybe you determine for your company that your policy for an outage like that is you operate that way. Or you say, we're going to have a backup internet connection. So, those of you who have like fiber internet connections and you have like a cable internet connection as your backup, and you have a firewall that knows how to fail over and fail back, all that sort of stuff, we make that determination. It's interesting though, on that note, that I recently just had, I think it's my first conversation with a prospect, again, being 20 years in this business, that said, we were talking about backup internet, and they were talking about the Microsoft phone system. They're like, we're really not worried about a backup internet connection. I'm like, wow, they were a good sized business. So that was pretty interesting to me, because internet's just gotten so reliable at this point. And then with headsets, do you get headsets? Do you do a single ear or dual ear? Quiet office environment, noisier office environment. Do you want a wired or wireless headset? And do you get conference phones and common area phones? All right, so do you get that tripod phone that sits in the conference room? It's kind of showy, kind of cool. Or do you just get another, standard desk phone and put that in there? Do you have an overhead paging system? And so just so you know, you cannot page through the speakers that are on the desk phones. The phone system does not do that, but it can be tied into an overhead paging system if you have that. And then we determine the number of auto attendants, call trees, call queues. We determine the set of numbers that need to be poured over. So your toll numbers, maybe you have, a couple different regions in the U.S. where you have phone numbers. And if you have some toll-free numbers, we can bring those over. But we have to determine how many sets of numbers that we need to port over. And one question comes up is, Can we bring our phone numbers we have? Absolutely. And what if we have a bunch of numbers we're not using? Can we still bring those over? Absolutely. So once we're done with the setup, then this is how we move forward with the prep. So in any Microsoft 365 project we do, whether we're talking about getting your emails and files moved over and integrating Microsoft Intune, Azure Active Directory, all that sort of stuff, especially if we're talking about putting the Office desktop apps and using Teams, which I highly recommend, all the computers need to be running Windows 10 Pro or Enterprise with the updated Windows OS build. So currently version 1903. So that is a foundation of every project we do. And sometimes it's not a fun thing for the client to see. They're calling us up, they have servers that are, on their last legs, and they're hoping that we can just, get them moved over easily into the Microsoft cloud system. But they want to, say, well, we haven't dealt with half our computers are still running Windows 7, or we have a bunch of computers that are running Windows 10, but some of them are home edition, or we don't know, what the update status of them is. Or every bunch of people are running different versions of Microsoft Office. It's such a bummer. I mean, because one, it's not complex work to do, but it is it's a lot of work to do. And if that's one of the foundations when we do any Microsoft 365 cloud project. Doesn't have to be the phone system. We got to get your computers up to date to Windows 10 with the latest build, and we got to get everybody on the Office 365 desktop apps. That is for security, for stability, for just having a good life and not having a bunch of goofy little problems where people are calling up saying, well, this isn't working, that isn't working. Let's get everybody on the latest version of the operating system and the Office apps and get them up to date, and then keep them up to date. And then we can focus on so many other things that are much more interesting besides goofy little quirky little issues that come up when we're trying to do a Microsoft 365 project. So all computers need to be running the updated Office 365 Pro Plus desktop apps. And then if we're doing desk phones, the client will send the phones over to you. The client unboxes the phones, sets them up, and logs in the user, and they're going to have a temporary phone number. So all they have to do, and it doesn't have to be a technical person, all they have to do is test call out and then test receiving a call, and that's it. So behind the scenes, we're configuring all the call queues, the auto attendance, all that sort of stuff. But all you guys have to do, the client has to do, is just hook up the phone, unbox it, log in, and test call in and out. And then if it's the Teams app, it's even simpler because everybody will have the Teams app on their computer and they'll be logged in. And so all we have to do there is just test the call in and out if you're using headsets or whatever speaker or microphone you're using to connect to that Microsoft Teams app on the desktop. Very, very simple. And then again, testing the call outbound and inbound for each user with that temporary number. We're going to configure the auto attendant, call trees, call group workflows. We're going to make sure those are good and the way you want set up. And then before we get to the cutover, we're going to do a live training session for your staff prior to the cutover. So this is where we're going to go through who we are, what we're doing, so everybody is on the same page, setting the expectations for the cutover and how the system is going to work going forward in the orientation. That goes a long way to making sure that people, especially those in the company that are not necessarily so technical, are comfortable with the system and the expectations are set. So the next day after the cutover, we're in good shape. And then from there, we schedule the phone number porting with Microsoft. And so once we've done that, we are ready for the cutover. So with Microsoft, they usually schedule the porting 3 to 4 weeks out. They only do it during business hours. So what we typically do then is schedule a lunchtime porting of your existing phone numbers over to the Microsoft phone system. And so, from 12 to 1, we move the numbers over with Microsoft and start testing to make sure everybody's good. And then you guys are live with the phone system, usually on a Thursday afternoon or a Friday afternoon. And then from there, we resolve any issues with any users that have problems. There might be a couple, usually not too many. This is a very low drama situation. And then we just support you in the weeks after the migration in case any other little quirks or anything comes up. But it's all the things we migrate, email, files, or integrating Microsoft Intune or Azure Active Directory, or moving, servers up into Microsoft Azure. The phone system is usually the quietest out of all of them. Now, I like to think a lot of it has to do because of our experience and the training that we've done and how many of these that we've done. But really, as far as IT work goes, this one is pretty quiet. And so once we're done with this, you're in the promised land. You can add, remove users and subscriptions month to month as needed. That's it. So there's no more phone circuit contracts to have. There's no more box on the wall phone systems to be tied into. There's no situation where you have to, even some of these cloud phone service providers want to tie you up into a 2-3 year contract. Don't need any of it. Just add the phone services you need for your company, for the people who need it, month to month. You can change that month to month. And you're never going to deal with another phone service migration ever again. You're done. You are truly, truly done. Okay, so now you've seen all that, you might be wondering, can I set up the Microsoft phone system myself? Well, assuming you do not set up Microsoft phone systems for a living, do not learn the Microsoft phone system migrations while cutting over your company to it. You will damage your standing in the company. You will hurt your career and income potential. You will have stress you later feel was not worth it. You will have ongoing issues and headaches, and you're going to way underutilize the power of the system because you just don't know what you don't know. And this is 2 years in. I mean, we've learned a lot along the way. And the interesting thing is, the phone system is less complicated. A phone is less complicated than a desktop or laptop computer. A phone system is less complicated than a server or creating a server environment. It's less complicated than a backup disaster recovery system. But the problem is this point right here. It's not typical IT work. And IT people, even if they're managing IT or you're an IT manager at your company, you typically are not putting in phone systems. You might be putting in servers here and there, and that might feel very comfortable to you, but the phone system isn't. And that's why it gets relegated to usually a separate group, or even if a company has internal IT, they'll have an outside phone vendor. It's just not typical IT work. And the phone system is so sensitive for a company. When it goes down, the heat is on. So there's just too many gotchas, and there's too many new things to learn. Okay, but here's the good news. We work with companies in many different ways. So we'll work with a company if they have an internal IT department. We'll work with a company if they want to outsource everything to us, including the help desk and the servicing and all that sort of stuff. But if you are an internal IT person, or you're somebody in the company that wants to work on the phone system, look, we can launch you and then train you if we are selling your Microsoft 365 subscriptions. And that's an important point. I'm going to get to that in just a minute. So you might be wondering, hey, look, I'm interested in the Microsoft phone system, Wayne. Can we set up a time to talk? Absolutely. But before we set up that call, a few things you got to know. We're experts on the Microsoft phone system, Microsoft 365, and Microsoft Azure. It's all we do. We are not cheap. All right. We have a good group of people behind us. And then they're Microsoft cloud engineers and the people we work with. These people are good quality people. They're going to make sure that you are in good hands and in good shape with the latest and greatest stuff that Microsoft has. Okay? And an important point here, we can save you from shooting yourself in the foot. So making mistakes or doing things that are not quite right, we can help you avoid a lot of landmines, and then we can get you in a very cost-effective, cost-efficient system. All right? But it's an important point here. We do not do project-only services. You do not have to buy managed services from us, but we do not do project-only services. So in other words, if somebody calls us and says, look, we have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, we're tied into it for 2 years, but can we just use you guys to use the project, do the project, that's it. In other words, we won't buy our Microsoft cloud services through you. We do not do that. If you are in a Microsoft enterprise agreement and you're locked into that, it is a problem. And so we can't do anything with your cloud system until that agreement is up. And when that agreement is up, if you want to work with us, we will become your Microsoft cloud solution provider. We will sell, service, support your subscriptions. And again, if you are internal IT and you want us to train you and get you set up on the admin, no problem. If we are doing all of the support, the help desk, the management, the setup of your Microsoft cloud solutions, fantastic. But we will, at the minimum, be your Microsoft cloud solution provider. And also on top of that, if we had to work with somebody else's service provider, and whether they're going direct with Microsoft or whether they're working through some big, huge, nameless distributor, the thing is this: we can't use our support mechanisms as a partner. We are a tier 1 gold partner, and we have advanced partner support. It is a different support than a typical partner, even a typical gold partner has, specifically with Microsoft Cloud subscriptions. And it's a big investment for us, way beyond just our normal partner investment we make with Microsoft. And it is fantastic. But we can only use that if we are selling the subscriptions to you. It's an important point. And we don't do cheap or bare bones setup. So sometimes we'll have people calling us and they'll say, well, look, yeah, we got to get our computers upgraded. Half of them are on Windows 7, but we're not ready to do that right now. Yeah, we know it's going to end of life, and we have some older servers that need to be, can we somehow integrate the cloud services? And they're hoping we can just get them moved into the cloud in some hybrid way without dealing with the things that are ticking time bombs on their local area network, or they're trying to do it with the cheapest Microsoft cloud subscriptions possible. We're going to do it the right way. I'm going to paint a vision for you. If this sounds like something you want for your company and you want to do it right from the first time, we're your company. Okay. So if all that sounds reasonable to you, let's talk. The contact information is below me right here. You can email us to support@Xerillion.com and get in touch with our sales team. We'll get back to you right away, or you can call us 847-995-9800, and you can talk to Will, and he'll set up the call. And then from there, I can get on the call later as well if it makes sense, and we're talking about a project that would be a good fit for you. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and take some time now to answer some chat window questions. So it looks like, okay, read the first one here. What do you recommend for texting phone numbers, SMS, MMS, texting to a cell phone from a Microsoft Teams phone service phone number? So Teams doesn't have that yet. And there was at one point for Skype for Business, there was supposedly an add-on that would allow texting, but the company advertised that we could never reach them. So we don't have something like that yet. And I also think that I haven't heard anything yet, especially when I was at Microsoft's Inspire conference, their partner conference. I have not heard them. They showed a roadmap, and there was nothing about adding texting onto it. It would be a nice feature, no question about it. Okay. All right. Well, I think that was the only question there. So again, if you're interested to talk to us, you can reach us support@Xerillion.com, and you can call us 847-995-9800. And we'd love to talk to you about the Microsoft phone system. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next webinar.